If one night your child ran out of the house at 2:17 a.m. along with all of his classmates, disappearing into the darkness never to be seen again, what would you do? In this How to Beat video, we'll break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the Voodoo witch in weapons. We start out following a new middle school teacher named Justine Gandy, who one day walked into an empty classroom. Empty except for one kid named Alex Lilly. In the ensuing investigation, a crazy pattern was uncovered. Based on all of their home security systems, alarms, and video footage, all of the missing children had voluntarily left the house at 2:17 a.m., ran out into the night, and never came back. No signs of forced entry, no evidence of some sort of Dr. Halsey Spartan program synchronized mass child abduction. They just left. The police questioned the one non-missing kid, Alex, about whether this was planned out by the other kids, if he'd heard any rumors of a runaway pact or something. Alex said if there was, nobody told him about it. Alex is allegedly in the dark about all this as much as the police and parents, denying all accusations and refusing to elaborate even when the good cop serves him a fresh Coca-Cola. Bro, you're gonna have to sweeten the pot a lot more than that to get this kid to rat.
Hey, any of you guys currently on Adderall and, want to make $50?
17 kids are missing, and all you have for leverage is a can of Coke from the machine down the hall? You want answers? Let's talk numbers. Miss Gandy's playing the same game as Alex.
I don't know about
Tight-lipped, doesn't know anything, of no help. Maybe it's the tap water infecting their juvenile minds with the crazies, TikTok runaway trends, or the CIA is running MK Ultra V2 on the good kids of Maybrook, using subliminal messaging and spiked corn dogs at the cafeteria to turn them into unwitting sleeper agents who, at approximately 2:17 a.m., were activated by their handlers and most likely instructed to execute a false flag operation on American soil in the coming months. All I know is if I were a parent of one of the kids who hadn't turned up missing yet, I'd lock my kid in his room at night. About a month later, the school was reopened, and that's where this story really starts. But first, a helpful parent-teacher conference on overcoming the stages of grief.
Anger is a very healthy part of the grief cycle.
Not if you're the new teacher of a classroom full of kids that suddenly went missing. Justine's gonna need witness protection ASAP because there's 34 parents who are about to mob up and hang her from a tree. Nerds, ever caught yourself reaching for a bad habit without even thinking about it? Stress, boredom, peer pressure? Doesn't matter. The hand just moves. Fume, the sponsor of today's video, offers a simple, healthy, enjoyable way to break that bad habit while still having something satisfying to reach for. Fume is a flavored air device, completely guilt-free because there's no nicotine, no smoke, no carcinogens, no sticky, sugary soda. Just your choice of one of their tons of flavors, mixed with O2. My current favorite is orange vanilla. The Fume device really feels premium, with real wood materials and a nice weight, solid metal, and it's got a satisfying mechanical twisting mechanism that you can play with. Fidgeting gets a bad rap, like it's something bad. It has an evolutionary function. Our ancient caveman ancestors fidgeted. Micro movements kept their blood flowing, muscles active, joints lubricated, and awareness engaged. Fidgeting kept their body out of stasis and ready to survive a rogue saber-tooth or short-faced bear attack. Our nervous system is built for movement, but movement can be a problem if instead of reaching for a spear, you reach for a bad habit. It's not always socially acceptable to start swinging a war club. So instead, grab your Fume to quench your primal desire for micro movement. Go to tryfume.com/nerdexplains or scan the QR code and use code NERDEXPLAINS to get your free Fume topper when you order your journey pack today. Thanks to Fume for sponsoring this video. I know what my first move is when receiving credible death threats. Buy 2 bottles of vodka, drive to my publicly known home address, and get hammered drunk until I lose all situational awareness, physical coordination, and critical thinking capabilities. I also definitely would open the door and run outside to find out who was ding-dong ditching me in the middle of the night too. Lucky for her, it's just some pranksters. With no answers from the police, the situation rapidly getting dangerous for her, Justine is determined to find out what happened. And to do that, she needs to talk with Alex, despite the warnings from her boss that doing so would further traumatize him and give the parents even more reason to get rid of her. After stalking the little boy home from school, Miss Gandy finds something odd at his house. All the windows are covered in newspaper, all except for one little slit at the back of the house. When she peers through, she sees the faint outlines of 2 people sitting still in complete darkness on the couch, which, I gotta admit, is pretty weird. I'd say it warrants a certified stakeout, but I wouldn't try to catch Alex before he makes it inside his house after school just yet. First, we need to do a little recon, stealthily. Wear a wig to conceal your signature blonde curls. Change your clothes. Buy a hat. Get a cheap rental car so you can do some drive-bys inconspicuously. Slowly driving around Alex's neighborhood with "Witch" painted in blood red paint is not exactly low profile. Then, I'd throw up a trail cam in their backyard while the kids at school and the parents are at work. Justine opts for the less subtle approach.
I wanted to make sure you're okay. And
Don't follow me!
Well, she should probably get out of there, right? Nope. She stays parked right in front of his house all day until nightfall and falls asleep with all of her car doors unlocked, which is why this happens. What in the voodoo is going on here? Meanwhile, Archer's stuck in a lucid nightmare, chasing his missing son, only to end up at his own house, where a giant floating AR-15 hovers above it with a built-in clock reading 2:17. Inside, he makes his way to his son's room, except it's not his son sleeping in his bed, it's a clown.
I love you so much.
Wow. That was an entirely unnecessary conclusion to a heartbreaking scene of a dad trying to connect with the memory of his lost son.
What the f?
Well, at least we found out what happened to all the missing kids. What took them? It was guns. I mean, weapons. Or wait, was it clowns? Clowns with guns? I don't know. The next morning, Archer Graff finally does what apparently no one, not even the local PD nor the federal investigators, thought to do on day 1 of the incident. Use the security camera footage from multiple geographically separated homes of missing kids to trace their vectors and triangulate the central point to which they were all running toward. He's able to narrow it down to a relatively small area, but there's nothing on the map that jumps out as a key location, so he starts driving around hoping to find a clue, and that's when he spots Justine trying to pump some gas. Good a time as any to beat some answers out of little Jimmy's elementary school teacher. Out of right field, Principal Marcus comes barreling towards her, arms out like he's trying to fly. Dude's covered in blood, mouth blackened, eyes bulging, making intense animal noises, looking like he started playing the game of death. He attacks Justine, then Archer. Around the same time, a druggie named James just so happens to break into Alex's home looking for Nintendos to sell at the pawn shop. Obviously, the tweaker's down bad and can't be expected to make smart decisions, but dude, you picked a house with a car in the driveway and newspapers plastered all over the windows. Clearly, there's a paranoid hermit living there who I'm sure you don't want to meet. Just hit the next house over. Oh, it's not a paranoid hermit. It's a couple astral projecting into the netherrealm in a completely insane move. Tweak just goes right back to thumbing through old DVDs to find ones he could sell, with the House of Wax mannequins right behind him. Bro, there has to be other things in other places that you can steal. Literally just go to the neighbor's house one down. This is not a place that you want to be in, especially after hearing that loud thud coming from upstairs. Nope, he's gotta loot the literal Campbell's Chunky in the kitchen cupboard. I hope to God that's foreshadowing. James's next big brain brain move is to search the basement. In the house with 2 human puppets sitting on the couch, a loud thud came from upstairs after he already banked himself enough silverware to surf the clouds on a belly full of chicken soup. The basement is terrible because you only have one way out. It's poorly lit, and worst of all, usually full of random supplies, boxes, and old crap. The most you're gonna find is a bolted down safe, which you don't have the means to crack. Or in this case, lots of small children.
Sorry.
That's a jackpot if I've ever seen one. I'm sure someone's gonna pay good money for these kids. He scrambles up the stairs and tries to leave, and barely makes it out the front door before the possessed couple can subdue him. Little did the homeboy know, he just stumbled into a gold mine. $50,000 reward for finding the missing kids. When he tries to report his tip at the police station, a cop who he has beef with runs him off back to his tent home in the forest. He immediately realizes something is wrong. Maybe it has something to do with the literal clown waving to him. I know he's been hitting the bongo all day long, but man, I would not hide in that tent. I'd be sleeping on the corner of a gas station or something. Thinking the clown is unzipping his tent, he grabs some used needles and preemptively attacks. Not sure what that cop was thinking, unzipping the tent like that. Knowing he was dealing with a paranoid tweaker, it would have been smarter, and I imagine it would be more protocol, to stay back, grab his pistol and taser, and yell for the kid to come out. And if he didn't, start swinging the tent into trees like Jason Voorhees until he did. Now he's probably got AIDS and God knows what else. Before the cop pops his cork with the pump, James tells him that he knows where the kids are. The next bad decision comes when the cop enters a home suspected of housing 17 abducted children with a potentially deranged couple inside without calling for backup.
What the f?
I get that earlier he hit the kid and doesn't want the other cops around who the kid could report Paul's left hook to, but there's ways around that. Lie to James that he can keep the $50K reward if he keeps his mouth shut, or call your boss, who's your wife's dad, who already knows about you hitting the kid and would keep it quiet, and have him back you up. Just do something. Don't walk into a incredibly dangerous home alone with no backup and nobody knowing you're there. Sure enough, hours pass. Then more hours, until nightfall hits with still no sign of Paul, and no sign of anyone coming to check on him. Eventually, the front door creeps open, and Paul comes storming out as a bull.
Get the f off me! Get the f off me!
Around this time, well, kinda. The movie keeps passing the story backwards to different characters' POVs like The Longest Yard, but a little before this time. Principal Paul is attempting to contact Alex's parents to settle Justine's concerns about the strangeness of his home. Only, instead of Alex's parents, he's met by Gladys, allegedly Alex's aunt, who's staying with him to help take care of him. She claims his parents can't speak with him because they're unwell, struggling to cope, and have taken to the bottle. Paul insists that he needs to meet Alex's parents and says he'll come by their house later that day, which Gladys begrudgingly accepts. But shortly after, she shows up at their home an incoherent mess, asking to be let in for some water. How did she know where he lived? And why would she go there first instead of asking help from other strangers? It's obvious she's certifiably crazy, attempting to conceal what's occurring at Alex's house. That Alex and his parents aren't doing well under this psycho's care, if she's even really their relative. And right now the police and CPS should be getting a report filed immediately. Under no circumstance would I let her in, even if my dumb partner naively tried to quench Rhonda McDonald's thirst for some insane reason. Well, they let the old crazy bat in and get voodooed. She already had a personal item from Marcus wrapped around her wand, and we've seen she can puppet people remotely like she did with the kids. So I'm not sure why she needed to actually be there. Maybe she wanted to be let inside so that she could eliminate his husband at the same time to tie up a loose end, which doesn't make sense considering what she's about to do. And also, it'd be uncharacteristically strategic for a woman that had 17 kids immediately run straight to her newspapered witch's den at the exact same time. Seriously, if you need to vampire away life force from others to heal yourself, you could easily get away with it by picking random targets in random areas at random times on random dates whom you have no connection to. If all you need is someone's personal item wrapped around your witch's stick, that should be pretty easy to acquire, and you could suck the life force out of each with almost nothing connecting you to the abductions. Hell, simply telling Alex to steal a personal item from the kids of a different classroom, then using Voodoo to send them on weird, untrackable paths to an abandoned property like the one the druggie was tagging, would have been far smarter. That way, there'd be no direct connection. The way she did it was so sloppy and amateur, I'm shocked that she wasn't caught immediately. Alex, and by extension his home, parents, and her own suspicious, mentally disturbed self, were the day one focus of the investigation. Inevitably, this led to Justine and Archer discovering her den at Alex's house, Marcus probing as well, and the lies, complexity, and deaths piling up to keep her operation a secret. She'd still need leverage over Alex, and likely would have to possess his parents anyways. But since he wouldn't stand out as the lone kid not missing from his own classroom, the investigation wouldn't zero in on him, making puppeting his parents much easier. Unfortunately for Terry, Gladys instructs Marcus to cave his head in using his own skull. Dude got headbutted probably 20 times. Not sure why Gladys's next move is to have Marcus run straight from his house to the gas station and attack Justine in broad daylight. Have Marcus chill until nighttime, then send him to attack Justine at night, when she's alone. I can't imagine having a guy like Marcus running through the streets with his arms out, attacking Justine like a zombie is going to be good for your operation. Also, her voodoo must have some ether tracking mechanic because I have no idea how he found her at the pump. We pick up back at the gas station after Marcus initially attacked Justine. After Archer kicks his ribs in, Marcus chases her through the gas station. Before he can bash her brains into, Archer body tackles him into the fridge. Marcus gets back up and chases her out to her car and down the street, while Archer jumps into his truck and follows, knowing that this has to be connected to the shit that went down with the kids. The foot chase gets ended abruptly by a 6,000-pound vehicle moving at high speeds. It's a pretty gruesome scene, but to be honest, pretty merciful ending for Marcus. Poor dude was never going home after what Gladys made him do to Terry. The story gets passed back again, this time to Alex. His parents volunteered to care for Gladys in their own home, despite admittedly not really knowing her at all. Turns out, she was a witch. Alex is entirely helpless to do anything, as Gladys has possessed his parents and made a show of how easy it'd be for her to make them eat each other if he tells anyone about her. Gladys is basically a voodoo vampire. She needs to drain the life force out of victims to survive, and tells Alex that if he brings her a personal item from each kid in his classroom, she might get better, leave his home, and give him back his parents and life. She's lying, of course, but Alex is stuck in quite the leveraged pickle. He gathers the items, and that night Gladys brews her witch's stew. When she rings the bell, all the kids wake up and run straight into her home. Knowing the cops will come in to search the house, she tidies everything up, works more voodoo on Alex's parents while spinning a story about the dad having suffered a stroke, instructs all the abducted children to scatter until the investigation at the home wraps up, and puts on her best wig and makeup for the detectives. I know she's crazy, but a 5-year-old could apply makeup better than this. And it'd be a hell of a lot less suspicious and concerning than her Ronald McDonald clown getup. These detectives are absolute morons. Sure, they're not gonna guess that she's a witch, but surely they'd have checked all the security footage and came to the same conclusion as Archer, then realized that something is deeply wrong with Alex's home life. A disturbed relative that they've never been in contact with for at least 15 years suddenly shows up, lies about the parents' strokes and physical health, which, by the way, they could easily verify is untrue with medical records, and Alex is clearly not doing well. If there was ever a household and person that would be the absolute priority suspect in this missing kid's case, it would be Gladys. They would dig up every single thing about this woman and her past. How on earth Justine would be the target of the families of the missing children for months when this absolute demon's name and face would assuredly be public knowledge, either officially or through a leak, in which case you can bet your sweet that Archer would have staked her house out instead of Justine's, rapidly come to the conclusion that she's the culprit, and strangled her to death right on the front porch. Back up to present time, and Alex arrives home to find new residents. Not sure how Paul got voodooed so easily, unless Gladys snagged those needles that James stabbed him with, then put a spell on him when he arrived. Meanwhile, Archer and Justine are sitting outside, debating what's going on with the cop car out front. Well, the dumb see Paul weirdly come out and wave them in, as if that's even a remotely normal thing to do. Instead of calling 911, they waltz right up into the house that they suspect is at the center of abductions and possessions, with no backup, no weapons, nothing. Insane. Unsurprisingly, they get attacked.
Wait.
Justine's dumb goes for the peeler while she's getting choked out. It's both disgusting and incredibly ineffective. Good thing the next weapon she chooses is Paul's service pistol. Cool. Sure would have been nice to have one of those earlier. Justine blows James's head off, saving Archer's life. The whole op is a total cluster. Justine leaves to go mope over Paul as if the house isn't a dangerous, uncleared space. Archer leaves to navigate the pitch-black basement using a terrible flashlight in search of his kid. Gladys jumps him, somehow possesses him instantly, and forces him to attack Justine, who dropped both her pistol and her guard down completely. While she's getting choked out, Alex wraps Gladys's wig around a branch, pokes his finger, snaps it, which somehow activates Terminator mode on all 17 kids. They run Gladys down and pull her apart limb from limb like a pack of rabid zombies. Cool. If only Alex had thought to take the whole witch tree and dunk it in the bathtub instead. Dropping the branches in water seemed to deactivate the spells, at which point Archer, Justine, his parents, and the kids would have all snapped out of it and been able to kill Gladys of their own volition. I guess having the kids kill Gladys worked to deactivate the spell too, but man, these kids are going to be horrifically traumatized by what they just did and saw. Oh, looks like they didn't get freed from the spell. Wait, how did Archer, but not them? Who knows? Maybe their souls were too far drained by Gladys. In the end, a lot of people died. The kids are all brain damaged, and the parents arguably were robbed of closure in that their children are physically back, but mentally not. Had the detectives actually done their job, Gladys wouldn't have gotten nearly as far as she did, which is astonishing considering how amateur her work was. Ultimately, I'd say the voodoo witch in Weapons was beaten. Moral of the story: don't let crazy people into your home. Thanks to Fume for sponsoring this video.